Even I feel like I've lived this moment before. Deja vu. Just remember, Stephen, this is a quick one. Very quick indeed. Plink and you'll miss it. So Matt say.
Hello and welcome into another movie review here at MBE. I'm one of your co-hosts, Stephen, John McLaughlin, our other co-host, puffing his chest out, John C. Walsh. We are here to do another review. It's been a while and we are doing Pathaan, John. Our first venture into SRK. I'm sure we'll share our thoughts very briefly, but we have just come off the back of obviously recording our watch-alongs. Whether you see it or not, it's another thing. It's not looking good at the moment, but who knows. But one thing is for sure, I hope, is that this will go out. So I'm going to pass it over to John now, who's going to take us
because there's no fucking. This is off the cuff.
This movie review
Off
experience.
the cuff, completely. It will be an experience, Stephen, because there is absolutely no structure. Nothing. This is off the cuff, step by step. Beep bum bum beep bum bum bum. Feeling good, feeling sharp. I'm a real macaroni. Get down, as Gene Wilder says back in the day. We're going to get into this, Stephen. First, as you did say, first brush with SRK. Shahrukh himself. He had reacted to a number of his trails, movies he'd obviously dabbled with in his career. To this point, we knew going in that it was a 3 to 4 year hiatus the man had took. A lot of buzz, sort of anticipation for his return to cinema. Sadly, for whatever reason, we didn't get to go and see it in the theatres. I don't know why. We don't see a lot of movies in the theatres these days, it seems.
No.
But we've finally managed to dip the toes into the SRK sort of cinematography, filmography, that's what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
And we've started with his most recent movie, Stephen, and look, we says it during the watch-along, very first video, which hopefully you'll have seen. Well, I can't speak for you. I said that I knew what to expect going into this movie because we had reacted to Salman Khan's Ek the Tiger, I think it was. And also we know War with Hrithik
I think we reacted
Roshan.
to his tribute
Yeah, we did.
reaction as well, John.
Hrithik Roshan as well, War. We've reacted to two movies also in this spy universe, so we get a sense. We reacted to the trailer for this.
Yeah.
We get a sense of what it was all about. Sort of larger than life, super heroic sort of figures in this action universe, almost like Dwayne Johnson, Jason Statham meets fucking Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sly Stallone over here.
Yeah.
Meets Prabhas and SS Rajamouli's Bahubali with Rana Dagibati. Yeah. We knew what we were getting into,
Yeah,
and it didn't disappoint.
Deepika Padukone we know, obviously.
Yeah.
From Padmavat, John,
Padmavat.
and obviously Salman Khan from what trailer reactions we've reacted to over the past 3-4 years now. So, yeah, we knew what we're getting into in terms of the quality of acting, and I think everyone, even if you're not into Indian movies, knows of the name Shah Rukh Khan. There's no way you can avoid this guy's presence on the worldwide stage in terms of filmography. It doesn't matter if you've not seen. If you see a picture of him, you know who he is. Yep. He's just that well known across the world, across the universe, John. And one thing's for sure, and I know we'll get into it, I know we'll be rating it at the very end. He did not disappoint in this at all.
Did. No, Stephen, it was his movie. And look, to be fair, they've done some of the things that I've always suggested is required for, like, say, a telepathy movie. Give them help. Brilliant actors, but they can't do it all on their own. Even the great actors cannot carry a whole movie. To be fair to telepathy, he tends to actually do a good job of carrying movies, but they didn't have to do that here with Shah Rukh because they brought in John Abrahams, who was a brilliant villain. They brought in Deepika Padukone as a sort of thrice, is that what you call it? What was it called? Because I first experienced a tryst, experienced that word in class recently. I was about to say elite. I presume there was a tryst in that as well. It's a sort of adaptation of that story. She was a sort of third spoke in the wheel. Yeah. Sort of fucking. I'm blanking on his name. The man from X-Files.
Yeah, Alex Krycek.
Krycek,
Sorry, yeah,
that's the one.
I blanked as well, John. I had to think about it.
A sort of doing and throwing, switching. Selena Kyle, Catwoman of this story. So he didn't have to carry the entire movie, but to be fair, it's his movie in heart and soul, and he didn't let us down, Stephen. You're absolutely right, and I think that's probably the best place to come into first, is maybe the actual story that you didn't have to carry. Stephen, it's quite simplistic, the story. There's some multi-layered stuff going on with timelines, also the flashback sequence, and then a flashback within a flashback. But in a sense, it's about Mother India, two elite sort of agents, one wrong by Mother India, as he calls it.
Yeah.
His wife and his unborn kid killed in a terrorist hostage situation. I think it was Somalian pirates, terrorists.
Yeah.
And he held a grudge against the state. They gave him a heroic sort of fucking medal. And he held that grudge, and he, I think, was going and working with, I think it was Afghanistan or something like that, or Pakistan, I can't remember. Like rogue tyrant who wanted to bring India to its knees. He had 3 years to live. And it really all sprouted out from that. A very simplistic sort of revenge tale. And your heroic man, Pathaan, has to come in and save the day. But he's got baggage as well.
Yeah.
He's got fucking previous relationships with Jim. I thought it was very well wrote.
I thought
very well
structurally,
utilised.
John, yeah, structurally, I thought the first 20 minutes really explained the motives of the characters from both sides, and I think as well they didn't really waste any time in that.
No.
They got really down to the sort of backstory of these characters very quickly to understand what angle they're coming from, what's the relationship from the past, and having that sort of structure in place where you're having the flashback within the flashback helped as well.
And dropping into the universe.
And
he was dead and he came back.
Yeah, it keeps the pacing going if they do it like that as well. They don't hang about too much. They explain it enough that it's not too much on the nose. But coming into this, especially if you've not seen War, I suppose, and you've not seen any of the connecting films.
Was it Egg the Tiger? I don't know.
I'm not sure, John, but I mean, if you're going to come into a film and you've got to treat an audience like they're coming into it new, then I think they did it really well.
Egg the Tiger. Tiger's in the high. There's been a few, to be fair, and Tiger 3's coming out, which obviously they alluded to at the end of Pathaan.
But you don't have to see these ones to really understand and get this, John. One of the things I will say about the actual plot in terms of the end game of this, we've seen more complex storylines where they've tackled this in web series, but you don't have the time to do that in a film, especially this. You mentioned it, John. This is quite a short film for an Indian movie, just over 2.5 hours, and I felt
just under
to get that
2 or 25.
Yeah, just under. Just to get sort of to the nitty gritty of the plot and what the end game was going to be. It fits into that sort of action genre anyway, where that's what the stakes are, but that's not really the important. Important is in the now, and that is what we're getting in this. Everything in the now, not thinking too far ahead, not really thinking too much into the sort of physics and stuff like that of the movie either. Just enjoy it.
It's suspension of sort of belief, if you'd like, when you go into these movies, and you've got to buy into it. Root and branch, the whole kit and caboodle. You have to go into this movie and just forget about gravity, forget about fucking the sort of real life. Just buy into the vision, buy into the characters and their capabilities.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it an enjoyable watch. If you go in and you nitpick, and to be fair, we did nitpick at times.
Yeah.
But if you go in and nitpick too much, you'll be taking out the movie every 5 minutes. It's not what this movie's about.
Yeah.
And I think we've came a long way since we watched Bahubali and the likes of KGF Chapter 1. That grounded us to what Indian cinema, certainly this sort of branch of Indian cinema, is all about. It's very much Marvel meets sort of fucking Die Hard. Meets Predator.
Meets Mission Impossible.
Impossible.
Yeah.
You've got to buy into it. They do it over here. I don't know why it's such a big problem for certain people in the West to buy into an Indian movie doing the same thing. Hint, hint, wink, wink, certain prominent YouTubers.
Yeah.
But Stephen, what he says about the 2 hour 26 minute running time, I think you've got to applaud Siddharth Anand, the director, Shraddha Raghavan, Abis Tiriwal, and Siddharth Anand again, the writing department, because they knew what they had to tell in terms of the story.
Yeah.
And it is fucking dense, man. They packed a lot in, but they didn't overstay their welcome.
No.
And that's a necessity for an action movie of this ilk. You cannot have this playing out 3 hours long. It's way too fucking long.
Yeah.
It has to be condensed, and that's what makes it enjoyable, Stephen. It's flew by in the blink of an eye. You says it after the final reaction, or during the final part of our reaction. if you weren't doing a watch along and you having to come and record in different
Yeah,
sections, you would have battered through this
definitely.
in
Yeah.
one sitting. And that's down to the writing and the director and his vision. Stephen, in terms of the actual story though, there is nitpicks to be haved with this story. To be halved with this story. And it's the end of the story for me,
Yeah.
Stephen. There's a couple, to be fair, there is a couple. There's like just little plot devices, MacGuffins.
Yeah.
He's in a sort of sticky wicket, if you like, certain situations, Pathaan. And something's just gave to him. And it's like, oh, there you go, that'll help you out. And the ending was so fucking cliched. It was unreal. I mean,
Yeah.
again, suspension of disbelief, I get it.
Yeah.
But fuck me, Jim, come on. Jimmy. You want to inflict pain on India, on Delhi, the sort of main population hub in India, the capital, I presume, I think, of India. You've got a plane flying around, you've double bluffed, fucking triple bluffed your way to this point. Always 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, however many steps ahead of Pathaan, Rubai, the lot of them.
Yeah.
And you decide you're going to wear the detonator on your fucking shoulder. Not only that, you're going to tell Pathaan, this is all going to play out the way it's playing out unless you take this thing here off of me, which is unlikely. That was so fucking convoluted, contrived. After everything we went through, out of character for Jim.
John.
Jim is a smart villain.
Well, exactly, and maybe
That
it was a
wasn't smart.
touch of arrogance, that he thought, Pathan's older than me, he's not going to get the better of me. I'm trying to rub his face in it.
He did say at the start, Steve, didn't he? He was the best.
Yeah,
And he still is the best.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose if you've got that mindset, then I can understand it. But in terms of storytelling, it is. I'm not going to say it's lazy. It's not lazy because we see it many times in action films. And the solution, and the only other solution was to blow the plane up that had kids and women on it, and that would have been a terrible ending. That'd have been a very depressing ending, and you knew that wasn't going to happen. So the stakes weren't really there. If you don't believe that they're going to blow a plane out
them do?
the sky.
Salman stays in the movie after the train sequence. He deals with Jim. Rubai's still in the sort of complex dealing with the rocket and whatnot and those guys. And Pathaan goes off with that sort of wing thing. It doesn't crash and fucking intercepts the plane and stops it in the plane. That would have been a sort of balls to the wall, fucking crazy high stakes end to a movie that was just full with that sort of stuff from start to finish.
I think it would have been great as a spectacle, John, but I think in terms of the relationship between Pathaan and Jim, they had to have this personal moment and have that sort of one-to-one sort of confrontation, because you didn't really get it anywhere else in the film. There was little bits where they were interrupted. I think the Rubai character, or Rubina, sort of interjected a few times when they were sort of face to face, because that was part of the plan. As you said, she double bluffed a few times, blew with the wind, which suited her. And there was times where I thought that character was going to be finished off, and I thought Jim was going to be the one to do it by her betrayal.
The fact Jim killed off Nandini as well, his sort of mentor and sort of borderline mother-like figure, there was personal sort of grievances in there, bad blood, and that had to be addressed between Pathaan and Jim. So maybe you're right, Stephen. Maybe not a better way to naturally end this whole story when he's put it on a plane. I think the issue was putting the sort of virus on a plane from the get-go. They should have just kept it in the sphere and then dealt with that somehow with the rocket thing and shit like that. Just kept it simple.
Yeah, definitely.
I think they tried to up the stakes a little bit too much, and it made the ending feel a little bit unfulfilling for me. But in the main, Stephen, I think the story was well handled for an action movie of this ilk. Not got a huge amount of grievances with Sridhar, Sridhar, Abbas. I think they did a pretty decent fucking job. In terms of the actual screen time of the main actor, Stephen, again, Shah Rukh's the main man. He's front and centre for most of this movie.
Yeah.
Man's in his 50s. It's a joke, the shape he's in.
Yeah.
He's so charismatic. He's got so much presence.
Yep.
He's got those little moments that you expect from a leading man in this movie, sort of telepathy kind of fucking cigarette thing, and then the gum catching moments. There's a couple like that in here where he's kind of winking at the camera and stuff. Not really, but he is.
Yeah, I mean, John, I think
I compared him to Harrison Ford.
I think you've got to give I think you've got to give an actor, more than just action to do. And if you don't give someone like Shah Rukh Khan more to do in terms of his character, you're not going to get him. You know, I think you've got to rely on not just it being an action-based genre, but have the drama in there. We did have the drama in there, and also have those emotional moments. Certainly with obviously, I can't remember her name, the dimple cat. You know, her death was quite an emotional moment, and that's when you get to see the acting chops of someone like Shah Rukh Khan. If you're not familiar with his work, like we weren't, then you get to see this guy is an incredible actor. He's not just an action hero. He's not just doing, you know, flexing his muscles, which he was doing, and showing off his six pack, which he was doing. But just those moments, John, you can see what a great actor.
Head of hair, which he was doing.
I mean, I said it during the reaction. If you got it, you flaunt it. And Deepika Padukone certainly flaunted it as well. She was fantastic in this, John. Her presence was phenomenal. It's going to be interesting to see who her standout performance was, because I think we all know who it will be. I think, because I think she was on par at times with Shah Rukh Khan.
Some of the costume designs, clearly they'd brought her in just for that. Let's put her in a white jumpsuit, one-piece jumpsuit.
Yeah,
absolutely. Let's put her in a bikini. Absolutely. Let's put her in a trench coat with a sort of tank top. Fucking do it, man. She was wearing all sorts of things. Did they not go to Paris at one point? I think Paris. Sort of jet setting, Stephen, as you'd expect in a movie like this. But yeah, I thought the Pika was very good. But Stephen, John Abraham, man, I keep wanting to say Abrahams.
Yeah.
I'm blaming you, Stephen.
Abraham,
I think says that,
I probably did, and I probably called him Jim Abraham at one point as well.
But John Abraham, I thought he was great as a villain. I mentioned it, that ending aside, but that was hubris for that character, and that's what he was all about. Hubristic, if that's even a word. It is now, because I've made it up. I thought Jim was a great villain.
Yeah.
The real rationale behind why he was doing what he was doing. We've seen some
real clangers. Let's not be around the bush when it comes to some of the Indian cinema we've seen, John. And the Western cinema does it as well, but if we're basing it on our experience in this Indian cinema journey, some of the villains we've seen in some films have been bloody dreadful. They've been so... John, we slated your man from Triple R, who is a fine actor who sadly just passed away, but that was more to do with the director and directing and the writing on that character rather than the performance. I thought it was very 2D, and that's what we got. It was meant
to be 2D though, wasn't it?
It was. It's just, let's hate this guy.
Film,
I mean, it didn't have to really, but I mean, the complex relationship was between the two characters. Similar to this, John, I thought the characters in terms of the relationships between Pathaan and Jim was an interesting sort of direction they went, and I felt
yin and yang, wasn't it? It was like two different sides to these agents. One was wronged and wanted to harm India. The other was also wronged.
They've obviously had the similar upbringings to a point, and then it's all obviously we saw what happened with the Jim character's family.
What is it that Pathaan says at the end to Jim before he kicks him off that sort of cliff? It's not about what you can ask for your country, it's what your country can do for you or something like that. That showed you the difference in mentality, why they were doing the job they were doing. Jim wronged, don't get me wrong, much worse than Pathaan, but Pathaan was left for dead in Russia.
Yep.
And he didn't want to go out and harm India after it. He just fought for India against their enemies. And that was the main difference between these two characters who had similar sort of paths.
Yep.
And it showed you what he's all about. He's just loyal.
But I thought the trio, John, just the dynamics between them was fantastic. I thought just the chemistry throughout was really good.
Stephen, you nailed it as well, man. Very, very condensed cast. I'd say there's about half a dozen.
Yeah, see your man that played Raza. He's got a familiar face, John.
He's got a familiar face.
I know him from something, but I'm not really sure what it is.
I'm not sure either, Stephen, but you're right.
But he had a sad death as well, didn't he? He was shot.
He was
shot very near the end.
That's definitely not him. They're just not having it. They're not allowing me to select.
Click on it,
Yeah, they're not allowing
What is going on there?
That's because I'm trying to write. Fucking not letting me click on it. Okay, we're not clicking it. We know his face from somewhere, but we don't know where. Dr. Sahani, I think that was the main doctor who got killed. He was the guy who had helped build the viruses.
Yeah.
I think he pleaded for his life. He's got a daughter or something like that, and Jim obviously killed him. Just took him out. Matter of fact, Colonel Luthra was the main guy who was getting slagged. In the main, it was about half a dozen actors, and I think they all had a role to fulfil. Also, your main three were the primary characters. I did laugh, Stephen, when Nandini did die, because I kind of says, it's like Rafa Khan, Spock's deaf, puts a hand up and says, live long, and I can't do it, and prosperous. Jim type.
It's Macbill.
Macbill.
It's Macbill.
I knew it. I seen it. Fucking right it is,
Yeah.
Matt Bill.
Yeah.
He's a good actor, man. He is
Yeah.
a good actor.
From Mirzapur.
Mirzapur, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I laughed at that moment, and then it happened. And it was like, this is fucking the Wrath of Khan. This is Spock's death.
Yeah.
And there was lots of little moments like that I felt where they took inspiration from different movies. Well, maybe we're just seeing them because we're looking for them from Western style movies. A lot of Die Hard, Mission Impossible. They fall at the end was like Hans Gruber at the
Yeah.
end of Die Hard, Nakatomi Building, I think it was still.
Yeah. Yeah.
Lots of little things happening in there that looked like homages to previous iconic action movies. But in the Einstein, look, I thought in terms of performances, it was your main trio that were
Yeah.
the absolute standouts, as you expect. They're the top billing. But Shah Rukh, 3-4 years out, comes back just oozing in fucking charisma, oozing in sort of screen presence. Cool as a fucking cucumber throughout.
Yeah.
Just looks the part, acts the part, a specimen.
John, he
Brilliant
is a
acting performance.
standout, but by not much. I mean, you said it earlier, John, in terms of like telepathy VJ, who stands out. He's like here and the rest are all here kind of thing, and no disrespect to those actors or anything like that. It's just the way it's portrayed. But in this, it's like Shah Rukh's here, and the Pika Padakone's not that far under him, and the same with John Abrams.
I'd say Abrams
Yeah.
fucking level pegging the
Yeah.
Pika.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Because the villain's very important in a movie like this. And again, like Henry Cavill and the likes of Mission Impossible Fallout,
Yeah.
it's good to have similar level sort of actors. I'm not saying he's on the same level as Shah Rukh, he's
No,
not, but
no.
he's not horrendous.
No, and I
He's not
think you've
like-
got to isolate it as well, John. I mean, obviously, over a career, Shah Rukh Khan's.
Yeah, much fucking better,
Yeah.
yeah.
But in this film, I thought, just for that 2 hours, 26 minutes, whatever it may be, I thought the three of them were just fantastic.
Another nitpick I had, Stephen, and I'm going to give him praise, and I'm presuming it's a he, and I'm also going to absolutely fucking destroy him. Sachit Palos, I think that's his name, cinematographer. Some epic moments,
Yeah.
really well captured moments in this movie. Some unbelievable set pieces. The one where Pathaan breaks out at the start, he's in the helicopter,
Yeah.
he's unleashing chain guns. The chase sequence with him and Jim, leading to helicopters, they're fighting on top of fucking moving lorries, all sorts happening.
Yep.
Unbelievably well captured. The sort of fucking rocket launcher stuff on the frozen lake. So many fucking epic moments in
Yeah.
this, and you need that in an action
Yeah.
movie. But
I mean-
some really, really overusing of spinning shots,
Yeah.
tracking shots, going one way, going the other way. I felt like I was having a fucking
I felt like I was on the
Seizure.
waltzers, yeah.
We actually joked about that at one point.
Yeah.
Famous comedian over here did a bit about right side, left side's the best side.
It was,
You're on the
it was
waltzers.
very,
like, whoa.
it was
Too
very
much.
disorientating at times, John, and I felt, I mean, that, again, I know it's nitpicking, but when it comes to obviously cinematography and your audience it's kind of uncomfortable at times when they do it too much. I feel that your eyes are straying off the characters because it's going so fast, and then you're moving in the other direction when they cut, but one thing I will say in terms of the way that it was edited, John, I know we're still talking about the production side of things, is I thought they did it really well in terms of editing between the green screen stuff from those sequences into the sort of close-ups on the same sort of vehicles and stuff like that, to show the characters and show the actors that they were actually on top of actual real live action stuff, as well as the green screen stuff that was a bit more daring. You wouldn't allow actors to do it, but I thought the way they edited it was very slick.
It was, and some of the CG was very good as well. Stephen, last thing I'll say on the tracking, sort of spinning shots, I always get back to, I'm trying to remember, was it Patal Lock, where Chowdhury and your younger guy who passes the UPSC or USPC, I always fuck that up test, have the eureka moment that one of the characters couldn't fucking write a certain language and they were using his notebook as a sort of eureka. This is the sort of flaming gun or whatever. What the fuck do you call it? I don't know the fucking phrase. I'm shite at phrases.
I can't remember.
But it was a sort of moment where they were using that as, this is the perpetrator, this is it's a terrorist attack. They go and speak between each other, and it's a very slow moving spinning shot.
Yeah.
That's when you do it. You do it in moments like that, and it adds tension. You feel like there's a big moment happening because they are having
It's the
this.
pacing of the shot,
Way too quick.
Yeah, far too
Some of the
quick.
CG was fucking very decent. Some of it was not so decent. But in the main, I think it was believable. And again, that's all you really need. It's just servicing the story, servicing where the characters are at any given moment. Again, this probably had a big budget. It's Shah Rukh Khan.
Yeah.
And that it's certainly not the worst fucking
No,
movie
I
I've
don't
seen.
think so,
I've
no.
seen Marvel
No.
movies in the last 2 years
Irish
that look
Sheik.
worse than this.
Yeah, Irish Sheik was the editor, John.
He did a decent job, Stephen.
Yeah, I thought so, yeah.
It was a simplistic enough story, but there was some depth. There was flashback sequences, and ultimately lots of set pieces. There's lots of quieter moments, some dance moments in there as well with Padacone,
Yeah.
Pika. I think he did a good job of putting it together. It's the probably second most important, or third most important. I'd say it's the second most important role on a movie set behind the director.
I think so, yeah.
That's when the movie's made.
Yep.
The director fucking shoots it, picks his shots, but ultimately it comes on out of Chic
Yeah.
to put the final cut together, and that's what comes out to our eyeballs.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't work in the editing room and he's made an arse of it,
Yeah.
the movie is doomed.
That's it. You've
And
got
I
to do a
don't
lot of reshooting, yeah.
Yeah, and I don't think it was doomed. I think he did
No,
a pretty
no.
good fucking
No, I
job
thought
of
it was
editing
good.
it together.
Yeah, fantastic.
Score was alright. Sort of
It was kind of just the same thing over and over
par
again,
for the
wasn't
course,
it?
wasn't
Yeah.
it? Really,
Yeah.
there was a sort of da-da-da-da, I think, or
Yeah.
something like that main theme. But it's one thing I will criticise a lot of big action movies from India for, and I'll be upfront and honest about it. There's times where they're way too fucking loud. It's way too
I
loud.
think
It's
timing as
like-
well, John's an issue with us, isn't it?
Yeah.
When they come in with these certain
It's
scores.
like da-da-da-da-da, and it's like whoa.
Yeah.
You're like assaulted with it, and KGF in particular
Chapter
is the
2.
fucking worst for it.
Chapter 2 was, I
It
felt.
was like quiet moments at the
Yeah.
start of the movie, and it's like da 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 da. You're like fucking hell. She's having
Yeah.
a conversation.
Yeah, just
What
go
are
to
you
the
doing?
toilet. What are you doing? Oh, that's
Calm-
dramatic.
Calm
Just a
down.
dump.
But in the main, I think the score was all right. I mean, it's fine.
Yeah.
I'm not going to fucking praise it to high heavens.
Yeah.
Stephen, is there anything else to speak about regarding this movie before we go into our final thoughts? We've covered sort of
I
technical.
don't
We've
think so.
covered
We've done the characters, the acting.
characters, acting.
Yes. Technical stuff, yeah. I think
Salman Khan coming in.
yeah, I mean,
That was a fucking cool
It
moment.
was a cool moment, and because we know of
Cup of
him.
water.
I
Cup
think,
coffee.
yeah, I think in a straw, and I think
Yeah.
you know him coming in was a bit of a for us, but
That
I
would
could,
have worked better if you had seen
Yeah.
the other movies.
Yes.
You're like, fucking hell, Tiger's
yeah,
here.
but it was still
My
a good
God.
moment. Yeah, it's
But
still
we knew he was there.
yeah, yeah,
So it was like, oh, that's Salman Khan.
yeah. Look at
This is the
that,
moment he's come in. We
it's still
knew he
good.
was going to be, it was
Yeah.
still very good.
John. The way they shot it as well, they kind of had his face for a good half minute before they
Yeah.
revealed him, which I thought, who is this? Who is this?
And Stephen, I don't know if Shah Rukh's been in previous Tiger movies, but certainly the chemistry between the two was there. It was like a sort of mismatched bromance buddy kind of thing, you
Yeah.
know, and even right at the end, the sort of post-credits scene, they're sitting on the bridge. We're old guys,
Yeah,
we
you
have
can
to hang
tell,
it up.
John,
Who's
they've
going
got
to
a
replace
long
us?
history with each other, and I think
Yeah.
we covered it in a news show as well, where I think both their careers have crossed over at certain points, and in films, you
Yeah.
know, they've appeared in a lot of films, or many films, but not directly with each other, that kind of
Yeah.
thing. But they've got you can tell they've got a huge respect for each other, and you can tell they've got a long history. Veterans, John. They
Yeah.
are veterans.
Yeah, they are veterans and they poke fun at each other and
Yeah.
their age.
Yeah.
We're the ones that are going to have to do it. The kids can wait, in a sense. Stephen, this is part of a greater spy universe. I believe War, Hrithik Roshan, or as I used to call him, Horrific, is in there. Salman Khan, Shah
Yeah.
Rukh Khan, Hrithik Roshan. Are they going to pop up in Tiger 3? I don't know, but fucking epic, man, if they are. Cause
Well, I mean, we
three
could check
titans.
out I suppose the cast list for it. I
We
suppose,
could, to
but
be fair, but I'm not going
I
to leave it.
I kind of like the suspense and the surprise of that rather than find that out, because I came across a clanger yesterday, as I showed you, John.
Yes, you did, for the Flash.
Yeah, so
Fucking spoiler.
yeah,
It's not a spoiler for me.
and I
it's
wasn't
made
even
me-
looking for the Flash.
It's making me want to go and watch it even more, if
Yeah.
anything. So that's sort of spoilers done right.
Yeah,
Stephen, in the end, look, this movie was exactly what I expected it to be. Balls to the wall action, massive set pieces. Never even spoke about the set pieces in depth. I'd say my favourite
yeah,
is
sequences, yeah.
probably the chase sequence where he ends up getting flipped over, and Jim has his sort of villainous moment where he explains everything
Yeah.
and then walks away. That was fucking really well put together.
Mine's,
Ends in the helicopter stuff.
Mine was probably the ice scene. I thought
was
that was
good, yeah.
fantastic, John. It reminded me of James Bond quite a bit,
Yeah,
but in a good way.
not showing off.
Yeah, not showing.
Yes.
It was just fantastic. You know, was it necessary? Probably not, because it didn't really resolve it. It was just another decoy for Jim, wasn't it?
It was
but-
a way to engineer Nandini's death and give
yeah,
him.
yeah. I mean,
the
but the
fire.
actual chase sequence was fantastic. And then the actual visuals over the ice, I thought it was really handled well.
It was.
It
Yeah.
looked real. You know.
But as I was saying, balls to the wall action, big set pieces. That's an example of the big set pieces. And just fucking Shah Rukh coming in, slipping into this character in this established universe. And I think he did it with nonchalance, the acting.
Yeah,
Slid
definitely.
back in, owned the whole fucking thing for the most part. Stephen, I like these big action movies. I grew up with the sort of, what is it, Jimmy, is it not even Jimmy, John Woo
Yeah,
movies.
yeah.
I think he did Face Off.
He did quite a few Nick Cage ones. He has a certain style.
And
you know, and you can see,
gun-toting.
you know, a John Woo film when you see one. Yeah.
So I've grew up with that.
Yeah.
I grew up watching Sly movies. I grew up watching fucking RoboCop. I love these action movies.
Yeah.
A lot of it doesn't make any fucking sense, but you just
No.
envelop yourself in
Yeah.
it and enjoy the
It's a lot of
experience.
satisfaction in them, John, if you're into that kind of thing
Yeah.
with that packs a punch. And this
Mission Impossible.
certainly does pack a punch. And chase scenes, whether it be on ice, whether it be in the air, whether it be on road, if it's done well, it's shot right, you feel like you're there, then that's half the battle. And I thought they did it really well. I thought that sequence you referred to, John, was fantastic. The ice scene was fantastic, and even the stuff in the air with those jetpacks I thought it looked really good. It's very slick.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, so I knew what I was getting into.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed it. And I'm slightly baffled by the relatively, I mean, I'm saying relatively low. I think it is actually the lowest rated potentially of all of these sort of movies in the universe. 6.5 for War. I don't know what the Tiger ones are, but I'd imagine they're pretty fucking high. I mean, I could go in and click on them just now, briefly, maybe. 4.0, no, that's on Amazon. That's a different rating scale completely.
Yeah.
Needless to say, I'm slightly baffled. 5.6. Once I was a Tiger, it's rated lower. Still a pretty average rating, Stephen, and I think we'll get into the rating just now. What would I rate this movie? Is it anywhere near the likes of some of the big fucking movies we've watched? S.S. Rajamouli's Bahubali, the conclusion, the beginning, did that back to front. Fucking Triple R, it isn't.
No.
We rated them like 9s and 10s, I think. This is a solid sort of 6.5, 7 out of 10 for me. It's solid.
Yeah.
It's a solid, enjoyable action movie, but it's nothing more than that, really.
No,
I enjoyed it. I didn't regret watching it, but it's maybe a 6.8 out of 10 or a 7 out of 10.
That's a fair rating, John. I think you've got to put it into context as well, where Shah Rukh Khan was in his career, and I feel that in this film, Pathaan, I feel that he's probably played it safe. He's took the safe option and gone back to the sort of ingredients of his earlier action films and playing it out like that. And that's why I think it reminds us of those action films that we grew up with, in the 80s and the 90s, John. Keep the storyline as simplistic as possible, but enjoyable and intriguing. I think they did that. But I think because of his previous 3 or 4 films, John, I think this was the one where he probably couldn't take that risk and make it too complex that would put a lot of people off.
Yeah.
For me, John, it's probably 7.5 out of 10 for me. I really did enjoy it. I like my action films. It took me back to those films I was growing up with here in the West.
Yep.
And I always get a kick out of them. Don't take them too seriously. Just go along for the ride, get some popcorn and just sit back and enjoy it. And that's what I did.
And there is always a place in cinema for those kind of movies. Like there is for drama, thriller, sort of Oscar baiting, soppy-eyed fucking human condition shite, Marvel stuff. There's a place for all kind rom-coms, if that's your thing. There's a place in cinema for all these kind of movies. That's why Tom Cruise, knocking on 60, is still making Mission Impossible movies, spending insane amounts of fucking money, and they seem to be getting better.
So they're always topping them, yeah.
There's always a place for these kind of movies. So I enjoyed it, don't regret it. Probably a 6.87 for me. If you were to twist my fucking arm, I'd probably give it a 7. So I agree, it's in that range. I enjoyed it, very good movie.
Yeah.
For what it is. What's your thoughts though? How would you rate Pathaan? What was your thoughts on standout performer, the technical stuff, cinematography, sort of score, editing, the story, favourite action set piece, anything you feel compelled to share, you can share down below in the comment section. That's the place to put it. You can also like the video if you've enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon to get notifications straight to your eyeballs. Also have to be said as ever, is thank you once again for watching us. And until next time, me and Stephen are done.